Okay, where are the Plumeria native? Anybody know?
Africa
The Americas.
and the Americas.
Hawaii?
South America.
North, Central, and South America, and some of the islands. That's where they're originally from. They're not originally from Hawaii, where they had the lay flower.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hundreds of years ago, the Catholic missionaries traveled all over the world. They collected them out of the Americas. They took them to the different lands. And if you look at some of the lands that took a while to basically establish Plumeria, like the Buddhists have lots of Plumeria planted at their temples. They use it as a sacred plant. A lot of cultures consider it sacred. But later, because they wouldn't allow Christianity into some of the Asian countries, so it took another 100, 200 years before they could get Plumeria into some of the Asian countries. All right, now with that said, Plumeria originated with the Aztecs, so we understand. It was called Xochitl, Xochihl. It was given to the Aztecs by the gods. Anybody that was not Aztec, that looked at the Plumeria, touched the Plumeria, or smelled it, was sacrificed to the gods. Anybody Aztec here? So we can get a get out of jail free card? Okay, whatever. Anyway, but that was the history from way back. Okay, now when these things cross pollinate, you basically can get new hybrids. There are hundreds of different types of varieties. When you get to Plumeria, the name Plumeria is the genus. And interesting, most people refer to it as the genus. The genus on these are palme, but we don't refer to this as a palme. Oh, you got a palme. No, then it goes down to the genus Bismarckia, and then down to the species Nobilis, and then down to the common name Bismarck palm. Here, we just refer to it as Plumeria, but there are 11 species, or 12, depending on what you read. This is the Plumeria rubra, or frangipani. So don't get confused on the internet when you go on there, because it can get mind-boggling.
Okay, so frangipani and Plumeria are not interchangeable terms.
Well, you're trying to say a genus and a species is interchangeable. It's not.
Right.
The genus falls under the genus. I mean,
Okay.
the species is under
Okay.
the genus.
I got you.
Okay, so, but every time these things cross-pollinate, you can get new hybrids. And that's why we get new different colors, we get different scents, and they got people that can actually purposely pollinate them to basically try to get a new hybrid. So they may take that Teresa Wilder and the slaughter and say, I'm going to confine these in a closed quarters just to see if I can get a different thing. And then when they get something new, if they go to Kew, the scientific area over in England where they classify everything, if you get it reclassified with a number, then you can name it. So we have Teresa Wilder, we have Veta Cruz, we have Irma Bryan, Scott Pratt, and so forth. So you see somebody developed something or discovered something to where they put their name to it. It's just like if you discover a new plant that hasn't been classified, and it is a new plant, you might get a chance to name it. So anyway, but we'll start walking around.
Yep.
All right, you see it bleeding, right?
Yeah.
All right, now that will heal up, but it's bleeding outside of the stalk. What I do is cut the leaf part, leave the petiole.
What in the world?
Go, Charlene, go.
Damn, girl, go.
I don't
Get it.
even know where that came from. Excuse my
Are
French.
you,
When
are you getting hacked? All right, you see how I'm doing this here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to leave, you see this here? We're going to leave this, that new growth. We're not going to touch it. All right, but all these big leaves, because now here's the thing. In Corpus Christi, in October, the first thing they do is in October, they go and do this to all their ones that are in the ground. What else does this do? If you did the whole plant this way, what do you think it might do? That one's got a bloom coming out.
It's going to grow larger. And,
It's pushing
Put
it into
it-
dormancy
okay.
Oh,
in October, okay? The whole plant is toxic. It can cause skin irritation. I read all kinds of stuff that you can eat the blooms. Some of the bakers will dip it in egg white and sprinkle sugar on it. And then when I read another one, the internet's full of all kinds of stuff, so you got to consider your
Yeah.
source. And basically, what it said, you could eat a half a bloom without being
Worried about it getting sick.
That's
or
how it
whatever.
got
worried
its
about being
reputation,
poisoned
I
or
think,
whatever.
with the
okay?
Aztecs.
So I just don't eat it. Okay. The sap, and even though this is a deciduous tree or shrub, this has a succulent branch, and you can see it just like the desert rose.
Right.
It's kind of like a succulent. Okay. So you see how these are all nice and smooth and swollen right here. Some that are dehydrated get wrinkled. So now that has never bothered me. This stuff has never bothered me. Okay. Now, in this one right here, you can make that one cutting as it is, and I would put a big price tag on it. It's a three-way, call it chicken foot, whatever you want to call it. Or you could come back and cut it here, here, and you got a little bit of woody stuff here, and you might be able to get this one to take, maybe. So you might get 4 out of that, or you could just cut this one off and leave it as like a slingshot and make 2.
So the fourth one would be this?
Yeah.
How long can they sit without
Okay.
being planted
Okay.
or cut again?
A long time. But here's the thing. At this stage here where we are now, do not put this in direct sun. So when I cut mine, I store them back in the shade of my barn. And then like in a week to 10 days, these will just start popping off. You can just like hit them. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
You'll just hit them and they'll just start falling off. And when they all fall off, that means the scar is healed here. And what we do the next stage right here, we'll get that sealed, and you put a little rooting hormone on the bottom, and you can see the root trying to bulge out at the bottom. It's a ring. So it's not like you get a little adventitious root going like this. It's a ring that starts to bulge out. So you know the root is trying to grow. Then at that time, you put it in a pot. They say a mixture of 50% peat, 50% perlite or vermiculite, doesn't matter, and mix it up. Good drainage at the bottom. Put them in there, water it really good, and then just put it out in the hot sun. From that time, hot sun the rest of the year.
Wow.
And then they say don't water it, but I found it's a little better to give it a little bit of water. The roots got to develop, and the heat that we get here on those pots, cooks it. If you fill those pots and it's dry, so I have found it's a little bit better to give it more water. Okay, your master gardeners kind of use your judgment as a guide, and then on top of that, I have taken them just like this and stick them right in the ground, right now,
This whole thing like this?
just like it is, and I have had them take
Any particular time of year or just
right now.
In the sun?
Right into the sun. All right, and here's the thing: the thing about it is that these do better in the heat. This is a tropical plant. Remember where I told you they were from?
Right.
Right.
Okay, this time of year is what? It's the wet season. All down through the Americas, they're getting those
Right.
rains. These things need water at this time of year. Now, in the wintertime, no. Now, we're talking about these in the ground. We're not talking about potted ones. Okay, a lot of the websites, you can see they're tailored to those that are up north with potted plants, because a lot of times they have to bring them in the winter,
Right.
but they put them in a sunny window.
Yep.
And they slow down up north. But here, we're very, very lucky to be able to grow these year round in the ground. All right, except Corpus, they would lose theirs and they dig it up. And I didn't say that on the last one, but what they do this on their plants, push it in dormancy. Week and a half, 2 weeks later, when these start falling off, they dig their whole plant up. Dig it completely out of the ground. It has a shallow root system. It doesn't go deep like a lot of plants. It's a shallow root system. They dig it up, shake all the dirt off of it, they label it, and they stick it in a warehouse barn for the winter. And
Just
they
like
replant
that?
them, just like that. No care. Just, they knock all the dirt off.
What's the thing about Corpus?
Cold. It gets colder there than it does here.
Okay.
And that's how they just save them. We lose these, because I can show you ones that have come back from the ground. All of these, before the big freeze, every one of these I dug up.
And did that?
28 through my yard. And I didn't shake the dirt off. I let it fall off. I just left what was on there. And I stored them in this RV. I stored them everywhere I had. And then as soon as I knew the heat was gone, I mean the cold was gone, I brought them back out and planted them.
Holy shit.
Now, do you
That was a
strip
lot
the
of
leaves
work.
off of these?
I hope you
at
had
any
help.
point?
When I dug them up, yes, I did.
But normal.
Any other time, I don't do it.
Like
no.
this? You did it. You did this to them.
Yes, every one of them.
'Cause
Well,
basically-
let me tell you, when we had that freeze, most of these, they didn't have it. Because remember, this is a deciduous tree. So it
Right.
normally does drop its leaves.
Right.
So by February 15th, 2 years
Right.
ago, it didn't have any leaves. I didn't have to. Now, I did have some where they had some growth coming out like this. They didn't have any inflows, but they had some growth coming out. I just left it. I didn't want to cut it. I just wanted it just to die back. That's an inflow.
Inflow?
Inflorescence.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You might get some soot on you.
Ah, well.
Okay, that's good. All right. So, but anyway, don't cut this inflow. All right, leave the inflows. If you get any today that already have blooms on them, don't cut them. You can pick flowers if you want. They'll have other buds that they. And here's the thing. I saw one of these in a garage, laid on the floor in a garage for 6 months, and it bloomed in a garage.
Wow.
These things are so resilient. It's like I don't even know. These must be alien or something. So
It's kind of like an aloe vera that it doesn't have to be in the ground. You just put it in place and it continues.
It survives somehow. Okay. Got maybe 100 seeds in here with the Veracruz, and the dwarf deciduous white, maybe 70 seeds. Somebody look up, Judy, look up on the internet.
Sure. There.
Find out what the cost of these seeds are. Just put in Plumeria seeds.
And they're long, aren't they? They're long.
They have a wing.
They have a wing, okay.
Does anybody know what a maple tree looks like with the wing?
Yes.
And it just kind of
Yes.
comes down like this? These do the same thing.
Oh.
Okay? They have like little wings.
Oh.
Now what you're going to do, you're going to take the wing, you can soak them in water for about a day, 8 hours or so. And then after you've soaked them, take them out, hold the wing with the edge of the seed just sticking out, put it in the ground, in the soil, whatever mixture you got, have the wing just sticking out a little bit. You planted it.
In a pot.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Plant it in the ground, you can plant it in a pot, you can plant it like, you know my basil back there?
Yeah.
You can have a little nursery bin. What I normally did was just take a bunch of them and just put a bunch.
Oh, that sounds good.
If you put them in a little pot, they're easier to transplant. If they're in that one there, the roots get intertangled, and when you pull them up, you have to separate them. So, you know, you guys could sell this at the plant sale.
They're about 75 cents each.
And the one I eat was $1 each.
Okay. The harder to find varieties can go $3 to $5
For one seed.
for maybe 3.
So,
You're sitting on a gold mine.
how long does this take to
We
germinate?
don't want
these?
anybody to know. We're not
About
telling.
3
Give
weeks,
us one of each.
roughly.
And to
So
get
in
to
3
a
weeks, you're gonna
good size,
have this, and then in about a month, it'll be up like this.
10 seeds, $8.49.
10 seeds for how much?
$8.49.
Okay, there's a value here. So if you don't want to plant all these, plant some of them, and then sell the others at the plant sale.
So we have the seeds are coming from the bloom as it dries up.
I'm going to show you a dried up pod that has opened and dispersed the seed. I'm going to show you a new one that is developing,
Okay.
so you guys can see what they look like. Okay,
awesome.
just keep those wherever you guys want.
Put them.
Right here.
Put 'em in
Okay,
here.
guys?
Okay, one more thing on the
Yeah, put
seeds.
them in the bag.
Fine.
I named them.
You did.
There's a
Okay.
reason. That's the mother plant.
But you don't know what
There's
you're going to
a
get.
50% probability you will get the mother plant. The other 50% can be, look at all the pollen out here. Okay?
Exactly.
Got it. We could have a brand new hybrid.
So
Now,
what are we gonna name it? Chucky?
Chucky. Chucky
We-
Cheese? Chucky Cheese?
Yeah.
Or,
Well, you said you
or
named
Chucky the
these.
doll?
Chucky the doll. What
Okay.
did
That's
you?
what I was thinking.
Now, but here's the thing. It'll take 3 years before you know what you have. I have some NOIDs, which is short for no ID. I have some NOIDs that have not showed their true self
dropped
yet.
something?
I'll show you the NOIDs as we go around. And then that way I don't know because I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
And then the cold obviously pushes back a little bit. Okay. What I use, some of the other stuff, hibiscus cannot handle it, and I'm out of breath because I ran. What happens? You can get different type of funguses. Okay, on Plumeria. Imagine a tropical plant around water, fungus. Yeah, who would have thought? Okay.
Right, yeah.
So what we're going to do on this right here, we're going to treat this with the
What is
fungicide.
What's in the bottle right now? That stuff?
That is what's in that bottle.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Straight or diluted?
let's talk about the other
It's gotta be the little bit.
the funguses.
Water in here.
Okay. And some of these, all these different varieties handle the heat, the drought, and the cold totally different. And they all have different growth rates. So
5.5
some of these are
tablespoons, 1 gallon of
seem to
water.
go with no problem. Others I have to nursemaid around. Okay.
So that's a lot.
Usually this time of year, the underside of the leaves are covered in rust. We don't have any because we've been dry. All right, we start getting these rains, we may have to may develop rust. And then I have to take this and spray, look around, the undersides of the
You-
leaves.
Can you use copper?
It's whatever's in here,
Okay.
whatever's in this
Because
product.
I use copper for rust.
And it stops. It stops it, but I got to go back a week later.
Is yours you put it in water also?
That
That's
is
right,
that is
it's
diluted.
copper, yeah.
Put about this much with a cap in a gallon.
Okay.
Okay, now some of them get
Say
what's
copper.
called a black tip disease in the winter because of the cold. And what happens, it gets mushy and stuff. And so what I have to do sometimes is come out in the spring. If I don't cut the tip off, it just mushes and runs and runs. It keeps chasing the trunk. So I have to cut it. And that's how I did the Loretta's. I had to do all the Loretta's that way, and some of the Scott Pratts. And then basically they're still recovering from the cold. All right, but they never got out of the big cold because remember I replanted them a year and a half ago. They were inside 2 winters ago. I replanted them. They went through last winter. It got down to 33 degrees twice here. It did not get to freezing, but that was enough cold. Anything below 50, a lot of my plants, they'll drop foliage, they'll drop flowers. They don't like it. So there's a lot of plants that I gotta get out here, and that Plumeria is like that, and some of them are more sensitive. Okay, so we get the rusting of the leaves, we get black tip, and we want to spray that because when we go and wrap this, we don't want to give anybody something that has fungus. Okay, so that's the fungus deal. Now do it. All right, where's your saran wrap? Here it is. Okay.
We just put Rudy
And
in
we
the
have some
one on
scissors
this.
here too, don't we? Yeah, we got some cutters.
We've all got the same,
That's okay.
these are,
Well, here's the easiest thing about it. If we have to do it like this, we do it like this. How about that? All right, the next thing you're gonna do here, now the reason we do this is it seals it. That way you don't lose your stuff. All right, where's the masking tape?
Right here, right
Somebody
here.
give me some
there's
masking
some
tape.
too.
I've been doing it wrong.
Tape
But
it-
did yours
tape it like
survive?
right above my thumb there. Tape it.
If you'd see the one in my backyard, you'd have the answer.
Above.
Well,
on
I don't know
your
what,
end.
I haven't seen it, so I mean,
Below
you know,
on
because
mine.
sometimes there's more than
All
one
the
way
way?
to do things.
Yeah. And just
Ask
get it
her
kind of
when
firm.
she
That's
saw
good.
it
That's
before
good.
and-
That's
Just,
good right
just
there.
like Chuck didn't know about the cinnamon.
I didn't know.
You're going
Boy, that's some tough.
go against your
Yeah.
natural.
Okay, now
Correction.
here's what you can do if you want. What I like to do here is put today's date. And the other thing I like to do, if you decide you're going to plant this whole thing, you want to put it 4 inches down. So I would start here and write Teresa Wilder. Just write it right on the trunk.
Okay, what is it today? The 28th?
27th,
27th.
Teresa Wilder.
About 4 inches up. That way you know you're going to plant it right down at the name. So when you put this in your car in your trunk and you go home and you trade off and everything, that is labeled.
Okay.
That's not sticking real good there.
No, not there.
And you see this is protected, so that right there is not going to fall off. So that's ready to sit for, now see, I had this on here for about,
So much it. Can we get another
maybe about a
piece?
week. See the discoloration of the plastic on the top of the trunk here?
Plastic.
I had this.
Oh,
I took it off,
see.
but you see there, so.
Well, it's just going to cover up the.
Okay.
No,
Or
I'll do
the
it that
tape
way.
doesn't have any stick to it. That's what the
There's some
problem
more right
is.
there.
Let's try some more here.
The stuff does go bad, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
The heat, you just mark it again. No big deal.
That's a brand new roll. Opened
Yeah,
up
you can
today.
tell.
Okay. What happens, focus on this part right here. Once you make your cut, you don't want to cut flush cut like you do with a lot of the native trees so the cambium layer grows around. What happens with these, they get dieback. And if you cut it, it'll get hollow in here, and if it gets all the way back into this joint, then you jeopardize both of these, and then you have to cut it back here. So leave an inch or so out, and then after you're done, because you don't want this to get hollow, you put latex on it. And you use white latex because it reflects light. I did do brown, it created too much heat. So they did recommend to use a white latex, and basically you just smear it on there, and you'll see some of my plants out here that have that already on it from like maybe a year or 2 years ago.
So you wait till it dries a little bit?
Yeah, because we just cut this. Now this one over here, I cut yesterday. And you see how it's getting hollow in there? That one, this limb broke. It was bending. So you can see how it started getting dieback already there. So I'm gonna put caulk all in here and do this. But what I was gonna do is do this when we're totally done, because this gets messy.
So many people that have.
But I'll show you how to do it.
I'll float it in a pretty vase of water.
Push down, just right
Or
there.
in a bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crystal.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm gonna let you guys decide how to cut this one. All right.
Okay.
I wouldn't cut these individually. I would
Because they're too
somewhere
young,
here
right?
or something. But
So it would only be one.
here, and then you have a little vein right there. Okay. All right. You see this right here only has one vein.
Yes.
All right. It has a double. Now, they say that when you get a hybrid, like that's a celandine over there, but I call it a celandine X. It doesn't exactly have the double vein like this celandine has. But they say to go ahead and call it a celandine because it's closest identifiable thing that you can have. Smells like citrus, smells like cream. Eat your own. Everybody's smelling something a little different.